Everybody knows that gems are the most valuable currency here in Rise of Kingdoms because they're so versatile. You can literally use them for anything. You can use your gems on the Wheel of Fortune to get your hands on some legendary commanders, or you can use them to increase your VIP level to get better rewards daily, or you can use them on events like the Hunt for History and Holy Knight's Treasure so you can get your hands on some material choice chests and some legendary equipment blueprints. And so because gems are so valuable and they're so hard to come by, it's important that you don't make mistakes and waste these gems on events that aren't really going to help your account that much, at least depending on how far into the game you actually are. So today I'm going to give you guys an updated guide for gem spending in 2024 so you have an idea as to where I'm spending my gems and how I think you should spend yours if you are a brand new player, a mid-game player, or an end game player. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, as you guys know, I am a partnered creator with Rise of Kingdoms, which means they support a couple of videos on the channel every single month, just like this one. But the most important support, of course, comes from you guys, so consider dropping a thumbs up on the video and subscribing down below. Most of you guys actually aren't subscribed. Now, to start off, there are two different events that when they come around, no matter how long you've been playing Rise of Kingdoms, typically they're going to be good value. Now we're going to start with the most important event here, and this is what players call the 7k gems event. What this actually is part of an event series that comes around for certain holidays, and they typically switch this event out with other things such as Esmeralda's Prayer or other decent holiday events that we'll talk about in just a minute. But the reason that the 7k gems event is so valuable and is so beloved by players is because if you can get to level 25 of this event, and as you can see in this example, this is the Bunny Bonanza event for Easter, but a lot of times this will come around for, you know, the holiday season like Christmas, or you get the gist, Thanksgiving, things like that. Anytime there's a holiday, there's a chance this event comes around. And if you can get this tiered system up to level 25, which is the max, and you finish it, then what you can do is you can spend 7,000 gems. And to be clear, you can spend these 7,000 gems whenever you want, but the best strategy is to wait until you get all the way to the end of the event here, spend the 7,000 gems, and what you're going to find is you get most, if not all, gems back when you spend those gems in the form of literal gem rewards from the event. And you also get your hands on, last time I counted, 35 legendary commander sculptures, which is insane value, right? 7,000 gems for 35. I mean, typically you spend on average 1,000 gems for a legendary commander sculpture. So to get 35 for 7,000 is insane. On top of all the other stuff you're getting speed ups, you're getting keys, you're getting resources, you even get material choice chests sometimes, I think. So like there's so much good value in the 7k gems event. So whether you're a new player or a late game end game player, this event is always worth spending 7,000 gems on, so much so that I would recommend always just keeping 7,000 gems in your account in case this event comes around. You don't want to miss it. Okay, the second event that I think all players can get some good value in, no matter how long they've been playing, is the More Than Gems event. This event basically gives you some amount of goodies depending on how many gems you actually spend during this event. Now this event is 2 days long and it resets every single day, so you can spend a certain number of gems on day one, and then at reset it all goes away, and then you can do the same thing again. So the best strategy for most players is to spend 7,000 gems on day one. You collect your 5 legendary commander sculptures plus all these other goodies and everything before it, and then on day 2 you go ahead and spend another 7,000 gems. Now the reason that I said most players get good value here but not all players get value here is because as you get into the late end game, these legendary commander sculptures become less and less valuable. Now that's not to say they're not valuable, which is why this is still at the beginning of the video. This is one of the most valuable events, but it's still, you know, it's not as good value in the end game as it is in the early game, because, you know, you get things like experience tombs and gold keys and, you know, purple heads. Like it's not crazy, but for brand new players this is exceptionally good value for two reasons. One, you've got plenty of things that you have to spend your gems on anyway, so if you're going to spend gems anyway, you might as well do it during this event to get more rewards for the same gems spent. And two, if you're a brand new player, you have a lot of commanders you got to get your hands on over the next few months to be competitive in Season of Conquest. So older players might already have all the best commanders in the game. Newer players, there's no shortage of commanders that could use some legendary commander sculptures on your account. So always keep this in mind. This event comes around, I want to say maybe once a month, once every 2 months, something along those lines. I never really keep track of it as a late game player because again, for me, it's not mega valuable. It's just okay, but always keep this event in mind. Now, what we're going to do is cover the places that you should spend your gems as a brand new player or as a new player. And in order to define that, and in order to know if this is you, let's define the different tiers of players really quick. Okay, for me, I consider a new player somebody who does not have City Hall 25. Okay, and I know like that's probably shocking to you guys because if you're a brand new player, you're thinking, wow, City Hall 25 is so far away. But realistically, City Hall 25 to me is kind of when the game begins almost, right? Like there's plenty of fun to be had in KVK 1 and KVK 2, but City Hall 25 to me is where the game starts. Okay, so if you don't have City Hall 25 yet, you are considered a new player in my opinion. Okay, the mid-game player to me is somebody who's just getting into Season of Conquest. Okay, whether it's KVK 3, maybe your first or second Season of Conquest, you're kind of in the mid-game. You've got a taste of the end game stuff in terms of commanders and gear, but you're not like running 5 armies of meta marches, right? And then needless to say, end game players are, in my book, players who have at least 3, 4, or 5 completed commander pairings and you're just working on equipment and armaments. Okay, if that's you and you're on like your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th Season of Conquest, then you are in the end game or the late game. Okay, and then of course there's the Giga Chad Mega Whales, and we'll touch briefly on them near the end of the video, but there's like really only one thing that you can be spending your gems on anyway at that point, and you kind of already know what it is. So with those definitions aside, let's start with the brand new players. Okay, where should new players be spending their gems in the early game? And for you guys, there's a couple of things. First of all, VIP is your best friend at the beginning of the game. Okay, there's a lot of VIP levels here and it's going to look very daunting, but the earlier levels are pretty easy to get and pretty easy to unlock. The first big milestone is VIP 6. This gets you a second building queue that effectively doubles your building speed on your entire account forever. So definitely rush this as fast as you can. Okay, this is where all your early game gems are going to go. From here, the next big milestone is VIP 10. VIP 10 gets you 1 legendary commander sculpture every single day and a golden key. And the gold keys for endgame players, not exciting at all. But for a new player, gold keys are still exciting because you can get your hands on commanders like Charles Martel or Mehmed or Thutmose or Pyrus, and those are all, I mean, they're not meta marches, but they're good. Okay, there's something that you can use in Season of Conquest, even though they're not best in class. They're going to help you in your transition to Season of Conquest. And so getting a legendary commander sculpture just by logging in every day is insane. From here, getting VIP 12 is going to be your next upgrade. That's going to get you 2 legendary commander sculptures a day, effectively doubling the rate of commander sculpture acquisition. And finally, VIP 14 is 3 legendary commander sculptures per day. So ultimately, VIP 14 is your goal. You're not going to get VIP 14 in the early game. Okay, I'm just putting this on your radar as like you're gonna be slowly working on VIP at least up until VIP 14. That's when this starts to become less relevant. Yes, there's good buffs beyond there, but like for the progression of your account, 14 is like the minimum that you eventually want to reach. Okay, and the way that you're going to do this and the way that you're going to spend gems here is you just press this little button and you can spend gems, but don't do this so quickly because you want to wait. You want to, of course, like I just said, remember earlier I said wait until more than gems, right? You spend 7,000 gems on your VIP and you get 5 legendary commander sculptures. That's a win-win, right? You make progress on your VIP and you actually get something immediately for it. That's great. The next day comes around, you rinse and repeat, you do it again, you do another 7,000 and you get these rewards again. Now, if you've got crazy gems, let's say you're somebody who maybe spends a little bit in the game or you've been hoarding gems or whatever, you can do the 25,000 gems each day, but just know that the value there is much diminished, right? So if you're rushing a VIP level, maybe that's worth it. Or again, if you're a spender in the game, maybe that's almost certainly worth it. But for most players, free-to-play players, low spenders, whatever, 7,000 gems at least one of the days, if not both of the days on your VIP as you're pushing towards VIP 10, 12, 14, that's going to be the best place to spend your gems in the early game. But it's not the only place that you're going to have to spend your gems in the early game, because there are a couple of things that you must spend your gems on, and that is Books of the Covenant and Master's Blueprint. Okay, the Master's Blueprints, these are what you need to get any building from level 24 to 25. So that means you're going to need a couple of these to get tier 5 units. Okay, they cost 2,000 gems a piece. That's kind of expensive. Buy these during the More Than Gems event, okay, because again, you're not gonna not get these, you have to get them, right? So you might as well get some value out of it by getting them during the More Than Gems event. So I would get a couple of these. I don't know exactly how many you need to get tier 5 units, but let's say it's 3, 5, maybe 7, 9, something like that, and you'll know, right? By the time you're there, you're going to know each building that you need to get is going to require one of these. And then finally, like I said, Books of Covenant. These technically you don't need to spend gems on these because you can actually get these from a variety of sources, various events. The primary way that people get these is from rallying forts out in the world, right? Like barbarian forts that you see on the map. I'm not gonna, because I'm recording a video, there we go, I was gonna say I'm not gonna find one. You can get your hands on Books of Covenant from rallying forts, and you should be doing as many of those as possible, but realistically you're not going to be able to get all the Books of Covenant you need to get to tier 5 units, most likely. And by that I mean there is going to be a few of you out there that did it free to play, okay, and congratulations to you, but statistically 98% of players are not going to do this 100% without spending gems. So most of you are going to need to spend some number of gems on Books of Covenant. The other thing that I will mention here about Books of Covenant really quick, I know this is a gem spending guide, but there are some of these chests here in the earlier VIP bundles where you can actually get a lot. So you get Arrows of Resistance for this one, and then you come in here, this one is nothing, but this one is 500 Books of Covenant. Okay, so at 10 gems a piece, this is basically 5,000 gems worth of value. Really good stuff, and that saves you a lot of time grinding, and you also get Minamoto, right? So like some of these earlier VIP levels, you can definitely consider, like this is 300 Books of Covenant. Again, that's 3,000 gems worth of value. Like to me, if you're a low spender, some of these are definitely worth it in the early game for Books of Covenant, and then it'll save you gems later down the line, or at least grinding, right? At the very least, it'll save you a ton of grinding getting these Books of Covenant. Okay, so in the early game, those are the things that you should be focusing on: Books of Covenant, Masters Blueprints, and getting that VIP level up. That way, by the time you get City Hall 25, you're going to have a solid VIP level, and you're going to be able to get a lot of those legendary commander sculptures every single day, and you're going to be hoarding those. You're going to stockpile those so that way you can instantly invest them in some of the most powerful commanders in the game. Okay, now let's move into the mid game, and as you can see here, we're going to be starting with the Wheel of Fortune. Now I want to be very clear here that the mid and end game, a lot of these events, it's a gradient, right? The Wheel of Fortune is going to be more valuable to players that are just entering in the Season of Conquest than it is going to be for a player that has been in Season of Conquest for 3 years. However, lots of players still spin the Wheel of Fortune deep into the end game, so don't get this confused. This isn't an event only for mid-game players, but I would say it is most valuable for mid-game players, because this is where like you have to get your hands on these commanders, whereas late game players are maybe putting the last few sculptures into a 5-5-5-1 commander or something like that, right? But really, Wheel of Fortune is one of the best events in Rise of Kingdoms. It has been around since like the very beginning of the game, and some of the best open field commanders in the game, virtually all of the best open field commanders in the game, show up on the Wheel of Fortune, which is great news, because that means you can get your hands on them as long as you have some gems. And you can get some gems in this game many ways free to play. So the cool part about the Wheel of Fortune is that you have what's called milestone rewards, or extra rewards, as you can see in this little chest right here. Okay, the best value out of this wheel is spinning it either 10 times or 100 times. 10 times gets you 5 sculptures of whatever commander is on the wheel that you care the most about. 100 spins gets you 15 sculptures of that commander, and in between there's other milestones that get you some universal legendary commander sculptures and various other goodies. So the milestone rewards make this event very good, but on average, if you do the math, usually you'll get one legendary commander sculpture for about 1,000 gems here. Sometimes you'll get lucky and it'll be 750. Sometimes you'll get unlucky, it'll be 1,500. It's literally a wheel, right? Like it's literally a game of chance, right? So you could get super lucky or super unlucky, but on average, with these extra rewards built in there, you're going to get about 1 sculpture per 1,000 gems, which is really good value. And this is why, again, for mid-game players, getting your hands on some of the best commanders in the game, you're going to do it this way, and this is what you're going to spend a lot of your gems on in the mid and late game. Okay, some commanders that are worth noting here are Liu Che, which you can see on the screen right now. You can get CPO Prime as well from the Wheel of Fortune. You can get Zhu Liang from the Wheel of Fortune, Harmon Prime from the Wheel of Fortune, Alexander Nevsky, Huo, Joan of Arc Prime, William Wallace. There's so many great commanders that come on the Wheel of Fortune that you've you want to get a majority of them. Okay, of course, moving forward, if you're watching this video 6 or 12 months from now, there could be new commanders that are meta commanders that are on the Wheel of Fortune, right? So always keep a lookout, and if you want to know, you know, if a new commander is meta or not, we're going to cover it here on the channel, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. But on top of that, the other reason that this is even more valuable for mid-game players is because you might still be just finishing up a couple of your buildings or maybe your research, right? And so these speed ups are useful to you, whereas for me, late game player, they're actually useless. And again, early game players, you might have more value for some of these resources as well. Now, the next place that I want to talk about where you can spend some gems is another version of the holiday event. Okay, before we talked about the 7k gems event, sometimes you get other variations of holiday events here in Rise of Kingdoms where you can spend some number of gems for a premium item that is only around during that event. Here in this case, it looks like it's a turkey leg. Okay, 50 gems for a turkey leg, that's a great deal. It's the best trade deal in history. Okay, but effectively during these events, what it comes down to is you basically need 20 of these premium items plus I think it's about 25 or 50 of the free items, and you can get this, in this case it looks like a slice of pie, okay, because this is Thanksgiving. You get these usually from killing barbarians and collecting resources in your city, gathering things like that. But basically you're spending about 1,000 gems, right? Because if you need 20 of these, 50 times 20 is 1,000, and you can exchange them for I think up to 20 legendary commander sculptures, or you can get your hands on some material choice chests, okay, which is going to really help you build and, you know, craft those pieces of equipment that you need in the end game. So this is, you know, it's not as good as the 7k gems event, but on average you can still get really good value for the gold sculptures and for the material choice chests. So I wanted to mention it here. During the mid game, you're going to start to spend more time thinking about these types of events, at least more so than you did at the start of the game when you were just working on upgrading buildings, right? And that's pretty much it for the mid game. Okay, the mid game is just where you clean up that transition between getting City Hall 25 and moving into the Season of Conquest. You want to start getting a lot of those legendary commanders and maybe some material choice chests and blueprints when you can. Now let's talk about the end game, and this is where a lot of you guys watching, you're probably going to skip right to this part of the video, right? A lot of you are looking for the best places to spend your gems in the end game, and the first place that we're going to touch on is the Holy Knight's Treasure. Now this is an event that isn't perfect, right? It's not always going to give you the best results. It's not, I'm not going to tell you this is the best event in the game, although a lot of players would argue that it is. This is another game of chance, just like the Wheel of Fortune, right? So there's no guarantees here, although there are some bonuses, some milestone rewards. And the benefit of the Holy Knight's Treasure, this is also called the egg event, okay, because it looks like a big golden egg, is that you can do 5 openings or 5 chances of this event for only 2,400 gems. So really, while some of these rewards aren't great, such as research speed ups and building speed ups, resources, right, like these aren't super important. I mean, resources you always need, but like for gems, you don't really want to spend gems on resources, right? So, you know, or like the epic, I mean, man, these epic blueprints are trash, right? Really what you're doing here, however, is you're fishing for the blueprints in the center, right, which you could see here, or you're really fishing for the material choice chests. I would say the Holy Knight's Treasure is one of the best, if not the best, events for getting your hands on material choice chests. Okay, so if that is the bottleneck for your progress in your account, then this is going to be an excellent place to spend your gems. Again, for a 5 chance, it's 2,400, as opposed to other events like Esmeralda's House, which you'll notice a lot of the same rewards here, no blueprints, and it's 3,600. The only advantage Esmeralda's House has is you can get some legendary pick 1 chests for materials, but again, the lack of blueprints, the higher cost, I feel like Esmeralda's House isn't great in my opinion. Not to say that you shouldn't do it, but in my opinion, I would rather go for the Holy Knight's Treasure, because at least you get a mixture of blueprints and pick 1 chests. And it's also worth noting that make sure you're actually picking a blueprint that you care about and need. That is not always the case with this event. Okay, sometimes it'll be certain blueprints that you might not care about, so keep that in mind. But this is a great place to spend your gems in the end game. Similarly to that, we have the Hunt for History event. Now this event is, in my mind, it is the counterpart to the egg event. but the hunt for history is more so about getting your hands on blueprints, whereas the egg event is more so about getting your hands on the pick one material chests. Okay, not to say that you don't get blueprints from the Holy Knight's treasure, which is why that event's so good, but hunt for history is more interesting for players looking for blueprints because first of all, you can pick the exact blueprint that you want, which is excellent. You also can get some number of these hammers for free. I think you can get 30 hammers for free every single time this event comes around, which is great. And if you always go through floor 5, you will definitely get your hands on some legendary blueprints, which is very nice. It is guaranteed. The thing about the hunt for history is that each individual tile is random, which is unfortunate. However, unlike the Wheel of Fortune and unlike Holy Knight's treasure, there is a guaranteed reward on every floor. As soon as you click it, you get it, right? And that's it, you're done. You have a 1 in, it looks like 26 chance of getting the thing that you want guaranteed, and that means that as long as you have 26 tries, you're guaranteed to get the thing that you want, right? Which is really nice. You know, that's not the case for the Wheel of Fortune. If you spin the Wheel of Fortune 26 times, you are not guaranteed to get the 8 sculpture drop, for example. Whereas the hunt for history, you know, if you have the legendary blueprints here, you know, okay, all I need to do is have 26 hammers and I'm guaranteed to get that. So hunt for history is great. Unfortunately, the materials that you get here, yes, they're blue and green, which isn't as good as purple, and also they are not the pick one chest, right? So you might get the bones, not great. Okay, the bones are not great, but still, regardless, hunt for history is still very good value for getting your hands on blueprints, especially because you can get, like I said, a lot of these hammers for free. Next up, let's talk about Esmeralda's Prayer. Now this is another one of those events that typically comes around during holidays. Okay, during holiday events, sometimes we will get Esmeralda's Prayer instead of the 7k gems event or the other events that we've talked about in this video. And this event has actually gone through a couple of changes over the years, and it's made it a better event than when it originally came out. Okay, when it originally came out, I made, in my most recent version of this video, I said that this event not good, don't worry about it, it's not great. But they've made some changes, they've updated the prize pool, and I've changed my mind a bit. I would say that this event is actually pretty good value, because you have to remember that not only can you get your hands on the epic material choice chest, but you get your chance on legendary material choice chests as well. You also can get 2,000 gems. You also can get, you know, this, a lot of people think that this is useless, right? This is an epic accessory choice chest. However, you can get your hands on the Bard's Pendant from those chests, okay, which gets you an extra 5% or 6.5% when talented resources from every time you collect, which if you're setting this to your alliance node, an extra 6.5% resources is insane when we're talking about gold in the long run. The Bard's Pendant is like low-key super good. So there's a reason why that epic accessory is a special reward on that wheel. Okay, the Bard's Pendant is like low-key great. I digress. But the other thing that's great about this event is, you know, yes, the earlier milestones aren't great. However, if you do spin it 60 times, you can get some guaranteed legendary material choice chests, which is incredible. And also, if you get really lucky, what happens is if you hit all 3 of these special prizes, then it actually automatically completes the rest of the wheel. You instantly get everything else on the wheel, and you instantly get everything else from the spin rewards, the milestone rewards, right? So that's a little bit of luck. It's not great to bank on it, right? Because I think it's only happened to me like once or twice, but it is worth noting that if you do get lucky and you hit that, like, that's crazy. You get so much value out of this. It's actually insane. Now, as you can see, you actually technically don't spend gems on this event. You get these coins. However, you can see down here, you can purchase these coins, or at least some number of these coins, for gems. I think you can get 10 discounted coins and then 20 or 30 regular cost coins. So this is another decent event to spend your gems on, especially if you're looking for the material choice chests. And there are some blueprint fragments on here that are okay, but also worth noting, there's no research speed ups, there's no building speed ups, right? So like, yeah, there's these useless gloves here, but like, I would say this is a much better event than it was when it first came around, and it is definitely a place that you can consider using your gems in the late game. And the last thing we're going to talk about here in this video is the mysterious merchant. I know you're thinking like, Omniarch, what are you talking about? Like, this is horrible value. And that's true, except for one item. There is one item in the mysterious merchant that is actually really good value, and that is the 50% expansion buffs. These are normally, I think they're normally 2,500 gems if you get them from the VIP shop, which we can double check my work here just to make sure I'm not lying to you guys. And as it turns out, I'm not. Okay, why would I lie to you guys? Okay, so normally it's 2,500 gems, but if you get lucky, the mysterious merchant will have it for 1,500 gems, which is a really good discount. I think that is absolutely worth spending your gems on in the end game, because in the end game you only want to be open field fighting with those 50% expansions, and so the cheapest way to get them, mysterious merchant. Okay, so this is the last thing I want to touch on for those end game players, those late game players. 1,500 gems for that item is very good when it does show up here in the mysterious merchant. I would stockpile at least, like, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 of them if you can. I have 11 right now, but you just never know how many of these you're going to go through in a KVK. Of course, you know, if you're stockpiling 20, 30, 40 of these, then okay, maybe hold off, don't buy them for a little bit, wait till you get a little bit lower, and then you can come back to spending gems here. So, you know, again, only spend gems on these if you need them, right? But it's worth mentioning here, this is a great place to spend your gems. It's way better than you think. Okay, now the last event that I want to talk about here, and I'm just going to touch on it briefly. As you can see, this is Omniarch from the future. I'm adding this in later, but this event is called Smithy Specials, and this is a really interesting event. The reason that I almost didn't include it in this video is because the star of the show here really is these hammers, and these hammers, you get a couple of them for free, and then beyond that you need to get them from bundle purchases. You can't get them from gems. Now that could change moving forward. The developers could make it so that way at some point in the future maybe you can buy some of them with gems, but at the time of recording this you can't. But there are still some ways that you can spend gems during the Smithy Specials event to get good value, and as you can see here, this purple material, this iron, is 384 gems if you get lucky, and it's 75% off. As you can see, most of the time you're going to get 70% off of your materials during this event. It's very rare to get 75% off, and again, anything that is legendary in this event is going to be acquired with the hammers. But if we look at this 75% off purple material, assuming that you actually need this material for something that you are crafting, which for infantry mains, this is gold right here, it's actually really good value, right? Because if you come into the VIP shop, you can get one material choice chest for 600, and again, it's more valuable that you can pick a material, right? But assuming that you were going to pick iron anyway, then this is effectively getting you one iron material for 600 gems, or you could get one iron material for 384 gems. Way better value, right? Way better value. And even in the event of getting something that's 70% off, let's say that this is a blue or a green material, a lot of times it's still going to be slightly cheaper than, let's say, some of the things you get from the mysterious merchant. So this event, again, I just wanted to throw it in here just to mention that there are some opportunities to get really good value for materials from the Smithy Specials, but hopefully in the future they'll give us a way to get some of these hammers, either more hammers for free, which would be great, or some hammers for gems. That way we can get more value out of the Smithy Specials event. And finally, for the Giga Chad Mega Wells, there are places that you can spend your gems even if you've maxed out your commanders and you've got iconic tier 5 all equipment and you've got your special talents on all your gear. We do have the Armament Reveal Thyself event. There are a couple of different events in this game that revolve around armaments, and this is one of them. And here you can spend gems on these tickets, okay? And you spend the gems on the tickets, and you can then spend those tickets on a specific armament. And the cool part about this event is that it will tell you some things about these armaments that are guaranteed. So not only do you know that these are all for wedge formation, by the way, you can see right here, but you also know that this is the scroll slot, and you know it's legendary, and you know that at least one of the things is for infantry. So that's a lot of guarantees, right? Here, this is a little bit cheaper. You know it's legendary and you know it's for calves, but you don't know which slot it's in, and so a lot of information is revealed. But also some of these have special talents, right? You don't know, this could be a legendary, who knows, right? It could be legendary, it could be purple, it's probably purple, but it could be legendary, right? So this is a little bit of a game of chance. It's a little bit risky to spend the gems here on these tickets, right? And there's other ways to get these tickets, but the point is that if you've got nothing else to spend your gems on, like you're really like end game Kraken Giga Chad Mega Whale status, and the only thing you can improve on your account is armaments, then my god, what are you doing watching a YouTube video? You must know this game better than me by now. What? That's crazy. Okay, but events that focus on armaments and formations, that's all that's left really for you to spend your gems on. You probably have hoarded enough legendary commander sculptures, you probably have good enough gear, so obviously events like the armament reveal thyself event are going to be the place to be. Now, with that being said, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, do you know whose microphone this is? Do you know? If you know whose microphone this is, comment it down below, and while you're down there, drop a thumbs up on the video. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps get this video out into the YouTube algorithm so other Rise of Kingdoms players might see it. And while you're down there, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to be notified the next time I upload a Rise of Kingdoms video. And let me know also in the comment section below if you found this video useful, informative, or anything like that. Are there places that you prefer to spend your gems that I didn't even mention in this video? Let me know in the comment section below. But for me, in 2024 going into 2025, I am mostly spending my gems these days on the Holy Knight's Treasure, the Hunt for History, and Esmeralda's Prayer. I spend a little bit on the Wheels of Fortune, and I'm ready to dump a lot into the Wheel of Fortune when there's a commander I care about. But since there hasn't been a commander I care about since Herman Prime in January of 2024, I've mainly just been spending my gems on those events that I just mentioned. So that's me. Hopefully you guys found this video useful, and with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.